Bruning here from Trinity Whip Company, and today we're going to be talking about how to use a whip for self-defense. Now I've got a lot of videos in this series I'm going to put out, and a lot of these videos are going to involve partners that are interacting with me, of course, and assaulting me while wearing gear, which will be really exciting. I haven't seen anyone really do my take on it or the way I'm going to do it. But right now we want to talk about how to crack this whip and how to get used to constantly cracking in a way that creates a forward pressure barrage and constant striking towards the target. Now we're just going to be focusing especially more on just one person to deal with, but we're going to talk about the different ways to use some of the most basic cracks. Now with this, how to hold a whip, a lot of times you'll want to grab the heel knot, and that's good, that gives the most leverage and control, but we want to learn how to grab above it on the handle, which is a common misconception. But when you're dealing with cracking and having to go in this close range fighting, this is a very nice weapon, especially if you can no longer crack the whip. This is a 10-inch, I use a 10-inch spring steel handle on this 4'8" flat, and that is a serious piece of metal. And it also has 3 wraps of lead flashing, and that is very strong. Like a billy club or a blackjack they used to make back in the day was like a leather pouch of lead shot. It's flexible, and they just conk you, and they just knock people out. So this is a very damaging weapon. I made another video, and I don't really want to ruin this, but I may get a couple bricks out or something and actually crack this from a short strike to show you the damage it could do. But with this, a lot of times when people talk about fighting whips, they usually use a 4-foot whip. A fighting whip, being a 4-foot as a preference, is probably because it's a lot quicker. And you got to realize a 4-foot whip with a 2-foot fall is still 6 feet away. So it's a really long-range weapon for the most applications. And if you're indoors, it's kind of hard to pull your Indiana Jones whip out indoors and use a 12-foot effectively in any other way. So I think it's one reason why they're preferred. Now, we're going to talk about some basic cracks and how to use those together in combination that work very fluid together, and a couple different patterns, and then eventually you're just going to have to free flow these patterns. But I'm not going to get a lot of detail showing how to do these basic cracks. You can find those in other videos. I don't have a lot out there for different reasons, but Adam Winrich shows a lot of how to crack how to crack the whip in a lot of video series you can check out on. But what we're going to do now is get to it. Now, one other thing, as well as grabbing here, we're going to talk about a concept I've never seen anyone else use, and probably for obvious reason. We're going to talk about a reverse grip. Obviously, people might have tried it, but I've never heard of anyone trying this. But it can be good, which is why I use the 10-inch nail spike, because this can be a serious, hard-hitting weapon. All right, so it's good to do this too and be able to crack it reverse style. So if you have to, you've got this like a nice little striking baton. The only reason why I use the 10-inch handle is. So these cracks I'll show work both for forward and reverse. Now, with this, we're going to talk about your basic cattleman's crack. All right, this is your most common crack. Looks like this from the fore view. We have the underhand flick. All right, it's kind of like your bowling. We have the overhead, and I'll just do these together after the overhead, and the reverse overhead, which works very good in combination, or what you might call a sidearm, very similar to a sidearm. So the overhead, reverse overhead, and then the sidearm. Now, these work very well in tandem. So here would be the cattleman's crack with the underhand flick. The overhead and reverse overhead, I might throw a sidearm in there. Ready? So they work in tandem, be able to pop, 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 quickly come back. I also like using a breakaway. Breakaway is a basic single whip cracking combination. Now this is called a fast figure 8. And a breakaway uses an overhead with the back crack of a fast figure 8, and then kind of like a sidearm flick. But this could be good too, because the little back flip helps, the back crack helps bring it back into view and changes a little bit of the dynamics of a pattern, so you're not just doing the same thing over. So it's good to mix these up, and it's probably good to add footwork and movement, and imagine someone's in front of you moving with you, but I don't really want to move around a lot today. So let's put a few together. But just have fun moving around and cracking. I'd learn these individually and then put them together. Now these work great to an extent with a reverse grip. It's a lot harder, okay? For one, I don't have the leverage, all right? So it makes it a little bit difficult to do certain things like the breakaway. It's kind of like using a snake whip, but in reverse. Right? But you can still do all these basic cracks. So, or the overhead. Again. Or again. Let's just try a breakaway once. No one's watching. So, again, we'll talk about using this. Any weapon's only good if you can get it. It has to be at hand, or be able to grab it on the side in the moment of time to be able to still use it. So, unless you're using or carrying a whip and looking to get into a fight, or you carry it regularly in case something happens, you have to defend yourself, odds are it won't be on you to use. And a cop, a police officer, someone who protects, they have a gun, but they learn to use all sorts of weapons or no weapons, because a gun's only good if you're not so close where you can actually pull it and use it. So this is similar. It's another weapon. It's only as good as you can grab it. Now, we're not going to talk about multiple opponents and what I'm striking at right now, but right now this intro video is to get used to cracking it in different combinations. And I would say move around a little bit. Wear a hat, wear sunglasses, wear some long sleeve shirts, because if it hits you, it'll bite. And don't worry about trying to go really fast or cracking it. That comes with some time and practice. But definitely get used to moving forward and back, side to side, curve, and then just add a little more, you know, cat-like, moving around a little bit better, and just kind of get used to flowing with it. But it'll take work, it'll take practice, especially this. Like I said, it's good to do this way, so if you ever do get close enough, you've got this to hit. Now, Anthony DeLongis does a really nice series where he has this exhibition video. He's got a few of them where, and when he puts on exhibitions, he shows all the ways you can use the whip. It is probably the most versatile weapon. Versatile, it's very versatile. Not only does it break the sound barrier, it can break bones, fingers, stuff like that. With this, it's got a lot of other uses. All right, like I said, you can have this to hit like a club. You know, he talks about using this part as like a nunchuck or a flail. He talks about using it, and this is good stuff to work on too. The striking curve might be better to use like a club like that, but you don't have the meat you have here. But you can do this for hooking, hooking and other stuff and slapping. So there's a lot of ways you can use this. So it would be good to get used to all of them. But any weapon's only as good as you can get it, and if you can use it, and sometimes not use it. Now right now I'm just talking about cracking, and more or less thinking about keeping someone at bay. Now all these cracks in the world where you're just trying to keep someone back, we will talk about striking certain targets, or while I'm cracking, I'm actually going to aim for targets if it's close enough where I can move forward and hit it, or he's charging in when I'm hitting. But odds are you're only get a handful of cracks while someone gets their bearings to figure out how they're just going to try to charge in and get you. And we'll talk about that. But just know that all this cracking won't be going on forever. You might have a pop, 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 and it's already, you've hit or you've engaged. It won't be a really long, drawn out movie sequence. So keep that in mind. Like I said, wear protection while you're doing this. Get used to moving slow, add a little agility, sideways motion forward, walking back, running. Try running a little bit if you can. Keeping the constant pressure going. Again, my name is Bruning. This is going to be the first series on how to use a whip for self-defense. And this one is just getting you ready for everything else we're to come into. But right now, just knowing how to use some combinations will work out well. All right, God bless. Have a good day.